Tonight, among the record wave of migrants crossing the southern border, a suspected ISIS member who lived freely in the U.S. for nearly 2 years. 2 U.S. officials tell NBC News. 33-year-old Jovokhir Attoev of Uzbekistan crossed into Arizona in February 2022, where he was apprehended and vetted by both Customs and Border Protection and ICE. He was not on the U.S. terror watch list, and he was released into the U.S., those sources tell us. Then, in May 2023, Uzbekistan put out an international alert, saying that Attoev was affiliated with ISIS and wanted there. But it took nearly a year for U.S. officials to figure out the suspected ISIS member was living freely here in the U.S. U.S. officials tell us DHS made the alarming discovery after reviewing Attoev's application for asylum. Shortly after DHS connected the dots, ICE arrested him here in Baltimore just 2 weeks ago. Former Homeland Security officials tell us his case raises red flags about the vetting process for migrants after they cross the border. Should alarm bells be going off here?
We are in the midst of a really volatile threat environment. Anytime I see a gap in a system like we are seeing in this case, I do have concerns. Anytime you have just a massive volume of people like we do, our systems are overwhelmed, and we need more resources at the southern border to properly protect the homeland.
And it follows our exclusive report last month that a migrant U.S. officials say was affiliated with an Afghan terror group crossed the border and was released into the U.S. because agents lacked information to connect him to the terror watch list. That man, Mohammed Harwin, was arrested hours after our report aired. The FBI director recently alerted Congress the agency is investigating whether ISIS has a hand in smuggling migrants across the southern border.
There is a particular network that has where some of the overseas facilitators of the smuggling network have ISIS ties that we're very concerned about.
2 U.S. officials tell NBC News DHS has not yet concluded that Attoev is part of ISIS, but they are questioning him in detention. A DHS spokesperson tells us he remains in U.S. custody and there is no threat to public safety.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.